All right, let's dive into something really deep today. We're going to tackle one of the toughest questions out there. How do you even begin to describe a being that is, by its very nature, completely beyond description? We're going to explore a sermon that doesn't just point out this problem, but actually lays out this incredible, logical path towards a whole new kind of understanding.
And right out of the gate, the text just sets the scale. This isn't some riddle you can solve if you're just smart enough. No, it's saying that our minds, our deepest thoughts, even our highest spiritual ambitions, they have a ceiling. And this reality exists beyond that ceiling. So if our best tools can't reach it, where do we even start?
Well, that brings us to the first big idea. The sermon frames this whole challenge not as some kind of limitation on the divine, but as a fundamental limit of our own tools. You see, the problem isn't the subject. The problem is our language, our concepts, our entire way of seeing the world. So what does it do? It just wipes the whole board clean. Think about how we describe literally anything. We give it qualities, right? We say how long it's been around, we stick a label on it. The sermon says, nope, all of that has to go. No limits, no adjectives, no beginning, no end. We basically have to unlearn our most fundamental ways of thinking. And that's the crucial question, isn't it? If all our usual methods are off the table, what's left? Are we just supposed to be silent? Well, the sermon argues that there is a way forward. But it's not about finding better words. It's about completely refining the very act of knowing itself. So the text doesn't just leave us hanging. It lays out a solution. You can think of it like a ladder of understanding. It's designed to guide your mind from a very basic idea all the way up to a much, much purer level of comprehension. It's a really methodical process. Okay, so let's climb this ladder together. It all starts with simple knowledge. That knowledge then leads you to testify, to bear witness. Your testimony is then perfected by a true belief in His absolute oneness, and that belief is perfected by pure devotion. And then we get to the final rung on the ladder, and this is where it gets really wild. The absolute peak, the perfection of it all, is to deny Him attributes, to stop describing Him. Yeah, let's just pause on that for a second. After all that building up, knowledge, belief, devotion, the grand finale is an act of subtraction, of denial. I mean, that feels completely backward, right? We usually think the more you know something, the more you can say about it. This sermon just flips that idea completely on its head. And this brings us to the absolute core of the sermon's logic, because this isn't just some poetic, mystical statement. Oh no, it is a precise philosophical argument. We are about to follow a chain of reasoning that totally deconstructs how we normally think about things and their qualities. First, just so we're all on the same page, what do we mean by attribute? It's any quality you attach to something. You know, a ball is round, a person is kind. For God, people often use attributes like all-powerful or all-knowing. The sermon argues that this very act, the act of attributing, is where the problem begins. Okay, here we go. This is the first link in the logical chain. Let's say you decide to describe God. You pick an attribute, any attribute at all. Let's use all-knowing. The sermon argues that the moment you do that, you've created an association. Why? Because an attribute is different from the thing it's describing. The idea of knowing is a separate concept from the divine essence itself. You've just put the two next to each other. And if the attribute is conceptually separate from the essence, well, then you don't have one thing anymore, do you? You have two in your mind. You've got the essence, and you've got this attribute of knowing. You've just accidentally broken the whole concept of absolute, indivisible oneness. And that's the direct consequence. By creating this conceptual two from what must be one, you have, in your mind, performed an act of division. You've taken this perfect, seamless unity and mentally chopped it up into parts, the thing itself and the qualities of the thing. Which leads to this absolutely stark conclusion. This whole process, which started with what seems like a good thing, praising God with beautiful attributes, actually leads you away from real knowledge. The act of dividing Him, even in your own mind, proves a fundamental ignorance of what His nature as an indivisible one actually is. And this same logic, this same error, extends to physical ideas too. Trying to point to God or ask where He is or what He's on, it's all the same mistake. You're trying to put limits and numbers and boundaries on something that by definition has none. You're trying to shrink the infinite down to our finite little box. So, if we've just stripped away all our normal tools of description, what in the world are we left with? Just a blank void? The sermon says no. It doesn't leave us with nothing. Instead, it offers a totally new way to think about existence itself, using a series of really powerful paradoxes. Okay, check out this first paradox. This sermon says he is with everything. That sounds like total presence, right? He's completely immanent. But then it immediately says this presence is not about being physically near something. So how can you be everywhere at once but not be near anything? And then you get the other side of that exact same coin. He is also completely distinct from everything in creation. But, and here's the twist, not because he's physically far away. So he's utterly unique and separate, but also not distant. It forces your mind to hold these two ideas that seem to totally contradict each other. Even a basic concept like action gets a complete overhaul. He is an actor, a doer, a creator. But this action doesn't involve movement or tools or instruments. It's an act of pure being, an effect without the kind of physical cause and effect that runs our entire world. And all of this builds to this final breathtaking image of absolute self-sufficiency. This oneness is so total that even our own psychological ideas like companionship or loneliness are just irrelevant. They don't apply. It's a state of being that is so whole, so complete in itself, that it needs absolutely nothing outside of it. And so that's where we land. We have walked through this incredibly dense, logical argument that says the absolute peak of understanding is to finally realize the failure of our own definitions. And that leaves us with a really powerful question to think about. What if true understanding in any field isn't just about collecting more and more facts, but about finally recognizing the profound limits of our own perception?